Hello, please open page number 100 of your Flamingo book. The poem that we will read today, along with the question answers, is A Roadside Stand. Let's start with the text. About the poet, Robert Frost lived from 1874 to 1963. He's an acclaimed American poet of the 20th century. Robert Frost wrote about characters, people, and landscapes. His poems are concerned with human tragedies and fears, his reaction to the complexities of life, and his ultimate acceptance of his burdens. Stopping by the woods on a snowy evening, Birches, Mending Walls are a few of Robert Frost's well-known poems. In the poem A Roadside Stand, Frost presents the lives of poor, deprived people with pitiless clarity and with the deepest sympathy and humanity. Okay, now let's start with the poem. The little old house was out with a little new shed, in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled, it would not be fair to say for a dole of bread, but for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, or if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts at having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with north turned wrong and south turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden quarts, or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving picture's promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theater and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm out their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer, for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop, but only to plough up grass in using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound, and another to ask could they sell it a gallon of gas. They could not, this crossly, they had none, didn't it see? No. In country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found, or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. And then next day as I come back into the scene, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. Oh God, this is such a heart-wrenching poem. Come now, let's do the question answers, and believe me, all the answers are going to make the poem very, very clear. Okay, there are 5 questions. Let's start with question number 1. The city folk who drove through the countryside hardly paid any heed to the roadside stand or to the people who ran it. If at all they did, it was to complain. Which lines bring this out? What was their complaint about? Answer. The following lines bring about the indifferent attitude of the city people. Quote, the polished traffic passed with the mind ahead, or if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts at having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with north turned wrong and south turned wrong. Quote close. These lines show that the city people were not interested in the roadside stand or the villagers. They only complained that the badly painted and wrongly written signboards spoiled the beauty of the countryside. The rich people were irritated by the unattractive appearance of the stand rather than showing sympathy for the poor villagers and their struggles. Nice? Okay, good answer. Please write it in your board exam. I assure you, you'll get good marks. Question number 2. What was the plea of the folk who had put up the roadside stand? Answer. The plea of the poor villagers who had put up the roadside stand was for a small share of the money possessed by the city people. The poor did not beg for charity or free food, but wanted customers to buy their farm products so that they could improve their standard of living. They hoped that earning some money would help them live a better and more comfortable life like the people in cities. Done. Very short and crisp answer it was, right? Now, question number 3. The government and other social service agencies appear to help the poor rural people, but actually do them no good. Pick out the words and phrases that the poet uses to show their double standards. Answer. The poet uses the following words and phrases to show the double standards and hypocrisy of the government and social service agencies. Quote, greedy good doers, then beneficent beasts of prey, then swarm over their lives enforcing benefits, then calculated to soothe them out of their wits. Quote close. These expressions show that the so-called helpers only pretend to work for the welfare of the poor villagers. In reality, they exploit them, take away their independence, and force unwanted schemes upon the poor people for their own benefit. Okay? Done? Easy? Now come to question number 4. What is the childish longing that the poet refers to? Why is it vain? Answer. The childish longing refers to the innocent hope and desire of the poor villagers that some city travelers would stop at their roadside stand and buy their products. They eagerly wait for the sound of a car stopping, hoping to earn some money and improve their lives. But this longing is vain. That is, it's a waste, because most of the city people are selfish and indifferent. They pass by without caring for the villagers or their struggles. As a result, the hopes of the poor villagers are never fulfilled. Done. And with this, we come to the last question of the text, which is, which lines tell us about the insufferable pain that the poet feels at the thought of the plight of the rural poor? Answer. The following lines tell us about the unbearable pain felt by the poet at the miserable condition of the rural poor. Quote, sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window there. Quote close. These lines show that the poet is deeply moved by the hopeless waiting, suffering, and unfulfilled desires of the poor villagers. Their pain and helplessness becomes almost unbearable for him. With this, we are done with this chapter. Wow. This is Heena from Tell a Tale with Heena. If you loved this chapter, if you loved my video, kindly subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. Bye-bye.